Welcome to Board Game Empire. We're going to be giving you a brief overview and our thoughts on Last Wheel by CGE. So this game's been out over a decade ago. It's been out for a long time. They had sent us this game to cover on our channel just so we could give you our thoughts. So basically this game is a worker placement, tableau building, hand management game where you are trying to spend all your money before the fastest and either have the least amount of money at the end of the game or go bankrupt before other players can do that. So you win the game by having negative or zero or the least amount of money. So you start out with two cards that you've chose. You're dealt, is it 5 cards? You're dealt a certain amount of cards at the beginning, and then you're left, you choose 2 cards of that. From now on, at the end of the round, you're going to be discarding down to 2 cards. You'll always start the round with 2 cards, and then based on where you put your piece, determines how many cards you get. So you'll get whatever number of cards is shown in this top row. You get to use either 1 or 2 of, I call them your toppers, but I forget what they're called. Errand boys, they're called errand boys. So most of them you get to use 2, but there's 2, if you choose those, you only get to use 1 of them. And those are used to do actions on these 2 boards. And then at the bottom of that is how many actions you get for that round. You could get 1 to 4 actions. Most of them are 2 and 3, and then you have a 1 and a 4 action one. And then there's cards that you can get, these special cards where you can add actions without, it's just basically a privilege. You don't have to spend any actions or anything to get that. It's just an automatic ongoing effect. Anthony had 2 of those, so he always had an additional 2 actions above whatever the turn order for the errand boy says. So basically when you're the first phase is planning, and that's when you, in a 2-player game there's a variant where each of us have to place a blocking token, and then we also place where we want to our player to be. So like in most games, the furthest left is the first player, the next for the errand boy phase. But the first player token is this that passes clockwise or in a 2-player game back and forth, and that determines who goes first the remaining phases of the round. But this determines during the errand boy phase. So and whoever is the very farthest right would be the first player, or for one that gets to go first in the errand boy phase. So you would be choosing, you can put them here on your color, which means you get to draw any card from any 4 of the decks. You could put it here to get an additional area to place your cards on. You can put it here to just pay 2 coins. You could go here to manipulate the market. They could be plus. This is the property value that you're selling. When you're selling or buying properties, you got to add or subtract this amount. This is the market. These 2 right here, you could choose 1 of the 3 special cards. There's only 2 spots because there'll always be 1 left that's not taken. And these are more high-powered, they give you ongoing abilities. They're like helpers. And they go from, on the back, they have crowns all the way up to 3, and the higher you get in the number of crowns, the more powerful they are. These have a spot for each card. You can place your top hat on, and you just take that card. In our game, there's always a wild card in a 2-player game, and these do change of what type of cards go down based on what round number you're on. Just keep that in mind. And then you have your round tracker, so it's played over 7 rounds, and I think there's 5 phases in each round. So the first thing, like I said, is the planning phase, where you choose how many cards and errand boys and actions you get. You immediately draw your cards and move your action on your player board, your action tracker on how many actions you have, and be sure to add any additional that you have from your helpers. Then actual first player gets to go first, You take all your actions, however many you have on this board is how many you have. It goes up to 10. I think the most we got is 7 or 8 at a time with all of our add-ons. And there's cards that if you spend the action, you get 3. I got those a lot. So there's lots of ways to add additional actions. So the way you spend your actions is by playing cards. So only the black border cards go on your player board. So it costs 1 action just to play it. So if you had 5 actions, you would move this up. And then that one, there's no other actions because that's an ongoing effect. That one would be an ongoing effect. But these, however, you pay your 1 action to play it. And then to activate it, you see how there's a check mark? You reveal that check mark. And if you only using 1 action, you get to spend 1. If you're going to spend an additional action and discard one of the helper cards,
which is a chef,
which has the little chef hat on it, you discard it, you put the little white token there. You could spend an additional action and discard this, and you get to get 2. Discard another chef if you have it, and another action, and you get to spend 4. So you're playing a lot of cards to be able to spend as much money as you can. This one, if it has this red plus A, that means that card costs an additional action to play and to activate. So it'll cost you 2 actions, but you get to get rid of $5 when you play that. There's cards that manipulate your market plus or minus amounts that you'll be receiving or paying. There's a lot of iconography that's shown on the back of the book that you would be going by. So you get to do as many actions as you want, many cards as you want, as long as you have enough cards and enough action points to do it. And then it goes to the next player to do all their actions. Then it's the end of round. That's where you do the refresh. You would be getting rid of all these cards and putting whatever round you're in determines which cards are on these 2 spots. These 2 spots, it's always the gentleman card.
For a 2 or 3 player.
And then this one's always the wild card. And then these, the first, how many rounds? 3 rounds, it's 3 of the crown cards, but after that you get another wild card in that section for the rest of the rounds. So you just keep going and trying to have the least amount of money in the game, and that's basically it.
Oh yeah, and then the event cards are played, they're not put here, they're played...
yes, they're white border. You play them, you pay them out, discard them, and do whatever action they allow you to do. I didn't mention that.
Alright, so I really like the design and illustration of the game. It has like a, I guess, 60s, 70s feel, or maybe 50s. I don't know. It feels old. So, before my time. So, I like the design and illustration. Good cards are pretty good, pretty standard. And then also the components. So, really good overall. So, replayability, high replayability, because there's so many ways you could go to scoring points. I think on BGG there is a lot of people that say that there is a way to break the game. So I've yet to look at it. Don't want to look at it because of, keep the strategy on. But high replayability, mechanics. I really like the mechanics because you just progress and build tableau, and I love building tableau area type games. And so it has a progression that you're like achieving something, and so that's one aspect of the game I really like. Also, the different ways of getting rid of the money and just selling, and there's so much strategy to this game. So,
I didn't discuss the properties. I didn't even talk about that.
Oh yeah, so the properties pretty much like if you have this right here and you have it here. So if you don't do anything and collect the or where you're giving rid of,
activate it to maintain your property.
Yeah, you pretty much where you pay 3, and you remember this game is about getting rid of the money as fast as you can. Then you would, if you don't do it, then by the end of the round, you pretty much go there. So
it depreciates each round.
So you get less money, which is good because you want, when you sell the house or manor or farm, you don't want to get too much money because the point of the game is to get rid of money. And so you just want to keep depreciating it until it's at the lowest and then sell it. And then if you have something like this, it also reduces it by 2. So you just want to get the least amount you can from the house and farm and all that. So really like the mechanics aspect of the game. So many cards do so many different things. It is a lot of iconography, and so that's a lot to remember. But overall total, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It is a game that you got to play a couple times before you could actually get the feel of it and the strategy. So really cool game. What did you think?
I thought I would love this game. I went because I love worker placement, economic games. I love the mechanics of this game, but for me, it was too much of a struggle bus, too many different little nuances to remember. I really didn't even get I got it. I got the basics of the game, but I didn't really get, there's a lot of switching, like during the errand phase, you base it on the furthest right. During first play, it was just too much flip-flopping in that, and the rule book is well written. I'm not knocking the rule book. For me, though, there's just a lot of little nuances you have to remember. To me, it made it not fun. But it is a solid game, and Anthony loved it. So it's not that it's a bad game. For me, it's just probably if we had more time to play games like back before we had this channel, I would probably like this game more because we would be able to. It took almost a whole game before we really were playing smoothly. I would say 5 or 6 rounds before we weren't struggling and looking at all the iconography on the back and saying, wait, what does that mean? Because there was little symbols that came up that we weren't really sure, like that, the red plus A versus the green plus A, little things like that. You just had to refer to the book a lot. So a lot of the first 5 rounds for me was a learning curve, and so I played my strategy was not good. I did horribly. I could not get rid of money, and it was just, I don't know, for me it just was too clunky, I guess, and there's a lot of cleanup at the end of the round. You are cleaning up, and just you don't really get that many actions, really, and you don't get that many cards, so there's not much you can do. So once someone is taken off, there's no catching up in a 2-player game. Like, he was always like about $20 ahead of me. And there was no way, even after I figured out what probably the best strategy was.
Well, I figured out.
Like, honestly, property, I've read a review after we played, and it was spot on for me. Like, they thought that was, I think I could tell they try to balance the game with the way you get to go first in different ways. But the properties, to me, it's not a big enough swing to make it worth it, because you're spending so many actions. Actions are very, you don't get very many. Usually you've got 3 to 4 actions. So, and realize some of these cards take several actions for each one, some of them, to do something. And it's like this one takes 2 actions. Sure, I'm giving away $5, but I use 2 actions to do it. And like the properties, you would be buying this. You pay an action to put it down. You're going to pay an action to pay that $3 as well. Plus, you do get to spend the $10 plus or minus whatever the market's showing. So this one, you would spend $13. You would get to get rid of $13, right? It's going to take you 4 rounds to get to where it's down to $5. So in 4 rounds, and if you haven't manipulated this, you're going to get $8 back. So you lost $8 in 4 rounds. It took up a slot, and sure, it didn't take any actions, but you can't do this if you want it to depreciate. So where it would be better to do this for 4 rounds, because you would get rid of $12 versus. So to me, the properties are not worth it. And one of the reviews I read was they played this game several times, And one of their people that play never buys properties. They basically just did events, and I could totally see how you could win this game doing that. So to me, it's broken in that sense. That mechanic's broken because I was focusing more on my property and kind of trying to, I wasn't doing enough cards where you were just constantly churning out money. And to do those cards, it's events and these helper cards, basically. So the companions are good to help you if you have those. But honestly, I think you can win the game with just the events and the helpers, or the events and the special cards. But so I don't know. It feels a little broken in that sense, and I just didn't find this fun. But maybe if we had time to play it again, I would have more fun. And it wasn't because Anthony toasted me. I don't care. I mean, we're not like that. We don't base the game as good or not whether we won or not. Like, a lot of times I love a game and it's actually more fun because I was never winning. Like, I was always like on his like tailcoat. And
I think all the micromanaging is what.
Yeah, and it's just not fun. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But this game's been out, 14 years or something. So I don't know. But I'm sure I could tell on BGG there's a lot of people that love it. So this, I think, is one of those games that you kind of love it or hate it, even if you like all those mechanics. That's like, I think there's a lot of other games that did it better, and I'm not against complex games if they flow smoothly, but to me, this one was kind of clunky for me. I don't know. But,
so what would you rate it?
Oh, I would give this a 5. It's one of those, I would take it or leave it kind of game. I would play it. I don't absolutely hate this game, but
it would be interesting to figure out, see if it is broken in that aspect.
I think it is broken.
So. Because
it's not a big enough swing. They should be bigger swings on the properties. And maybe it's the properties we got. Let me see if there's any that are, like this one. You buy it for 23 and the lowest you could sell it for is 20. How is that worth it? I mean, sure, you can use actions to. This one's worth it more for the
well, that's what
activating.
That's what I figured out in the first 4 rounds. The property works, and then you just once you get to the 5th round, you're gonna want to sell your properties, and then after that, you're just gonna want to deplete your money short.
Yeah, because if you get stuck with that property at the end of the game, it's whatever its current value is plus 5 more pounds is what you have to sell it for. Plus, you got to remember this market swing. So if yours is at plus 3. You could potentially end up getting more money back than you spent for this card. So I don't think the properties are a good strategy unless they are like that one, but then you would still end up having to get the money back at the end of the game. So I don't know, there's not enough actions and rounds, I don't think, to make up for that lack of swing, but I could be wrong. So do you have anything else you want to say? So hopefully this helped you to decide whether this is something you want to add to your collection. We will put the link in the description so you can check it out for yourself. Please feel free to leave a comment or question. Give this video a like. We hope you'll subscribe. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you next time.